when her child died. She followed him into the spirit world. But the choice she made would determine the fate of all humanity's children forever. In a high desert country where the Apache people made their homes among the red cliffs and hidden canyons, there lived a woman named Itzel, whose love for her son burned brighter than the desert sun itself. Her name meant rainbow in the old tongue, and like the arc of colors that appears after storms, she brought beauty and hope wherever she went. Itzel's son, Nailnish, was 7 years old when the sickness came to their camp. It was not the kind of illness that Apache medicine could cure, not a fever that could be broken with herbs, not a wound that could be healed with poultices and prayers. This was something from beyond the physical world, a shadow that crept into children's souls and slowly extinguished the light of their spirits. The sickness had appeared without warning during the season, when the desert flowers bloomed most beautifully. One day, Nailnish had been running and laughing with the other children, his dark eyes bright with the joy of being alive. The next morning, he could barely lift his head from his sleeping mat. "Mother," he whispered, his small hand grasping weakly for hers. "I can see them." "See who, my little one?" Itzel asked, her heart already heavy with the dread that only mothers know. "The spirit children," Nailnish said, his voice growing fainter. "They are calling me to come and play with them. They say it's more fun in their world." Itzel's blood turned to ice. In Apache tradition, when dying children spoke of spirit children calling to them, it meant their souls were already being drawn away from the physical world. The boundary between life and death was becoming thin for her son. She called for the tribal medicine woman, old Gozian, whose knowledge of healing ways was legendary among the Apache bands. But when Gozian examined the boy, her weathered face grew grave. "This is not a sickness of the body," the medicine woman said quietly, drawing Itzel aside. "This is a calling of the spirit. The child soul is being drawn to the realm of those who have passed beyond." "But why?" Itzel asked desperately. "He is so young, so full of life. Why would the spirits want to take him now?" Gozian was quiet for a long moment, her ancient eyes looking past Itzel towards something only she could see. "Sometimes," the old woman said finally, "the spirit world becomes lonely for the pure joy that only children possess. When this happens, they send the calling to draw young souls to them. It is not done from cruelty, but from a kind of spiritual hunger for innocence." "Then how do I stop it?" Itzel demanded. "How do I keep my son's soul in this world?" "You cannot," Gozian said gently. "The calling, once it begins, cannot be refused. The child spirit is already traveling between worlds. Soon, it will choose which realm it wishes to inhabit permanently." Itzel felt her world crumble around her, like a cliff face giving way in an earthquake. "There must be something I can do. Some ritual, some sacrifice, some way to save him." The medicine woman studied Itzel's face for a long moment, and something like fear flickered in her ancient eyes. "There's one way," Gozian said slowly, "but it is more dangerous than any path a living person has ever attempted." "Tell me," Itzel said immediately. "You could follow your son's spirit into the realm of the dead," Gozian explained. "It is possible, with the right rituals and preparations, for a living soul to enter the spirit world while the body remains behind. If you could reach your son before he makes his final choice between worlds, you might be able to convince him to return." Hope blazed in Itzel's heart like a fire catching dry wood. "Then I will do it." "Wait," Gozian said, raising a warning hand. "You must understand the dangers. The spirit world is not meant for the living. Every moment you spend there will drain your life force. If you stay too long, your own soul will be trapped there forever, and your body will die." "I don't care," Itzel said fiercely. "If my son dies, I don't want to live anyway." "But there's more," the medicine woman continued. "The spirits who rule the realm of the dead do not appreciate interference from the living. If they discover your presence, they may punish not just you, but your entire people. And if they decide that living mothers are too troublesome, they may forbid any Apache souls from ever crossing over to the spirit world again." Itzel felt a chill run down her spine, but her resolve did not waver. "My son is dying. Whatever the risks, I have to try." Gozian nodded slowly, recognizing the determination that no argument could shake. "Very well," the old woman said. But know this, once you enter the spirit world, you'll face a choice that no mother has ever had to make, and your decision will echo through the generations for all time. That night, as Nailnish lay unconscious on his sleeping mat, his breathing so shallow it was barely visible, Gozian prepared the ritual that would send Itzel's soul into the realm of the dead while her body remained in the world of the living. The ceremony was ancient and dangerous, requiring herbs that could only be gathered under specific phases of the moon and chants that had been passed down through countless generations of medicine women. As Gozian worked, she explained what each cell could expect in the spirit world. You will find yourself in a place that seems familiar but wrong, the medicine woman said as she ground sacred pollen between her palms. It will look like our homeland, but the colors will be different. The light will come from no visible source, and the sky will hold more stars than exist in our world. How will I find Nailnish? Itzel asked. Follow the sound of children's laughter, Gozian replied. In the spirit world, the joy of children creates a kind of music that can be heard across vast distances. But be careful, not all the laughter you hear will be friendly. Some spirits take the form of children to lure the living into traps. As the night deepened, Gozian completed her preparations. She had created a circle of sacred objects around Itzel's body, eagle feathers for spiritual protection, turquoise stones for safe passage, and bundles of sage for purification. Remember, the medicine woman said as she began the final chants, you have until the sun rises in our world to complete your task. When the first light touches the eastern mountains, your soul must return to your body, or it will be trapped forever in the realm of the dead. Itzel nodded, her eyes fixed on her son's pale face. I understand. One more thing, Gozian said, her voice heavy with warning. In the spirit world, you will be offered choices. Some will seem to offer easy solutions to your problems. Others will promise you power or knowledge. But remember why you are there, and let no temptation turn you from your purpose. With those final words, Gozian completed the ritual chant, and Itzel felt her consciousness being drawn away from her body like smoke rising from fire. The transition was unlike anything she could have imagined. One moment she was sitting in her family shelter, surrounded by the familiar sounds and smells of the Apache camp. The next, she found herself standing in a landscape that was hauntingly beautiful and terrifyingly alien. Gozian had been right about the familiar wrongness of the place. Itzel stood in what appeared to be the desert homeland of her people, but the red cliffs were shot through with veins of silver. The desert flowers glowed with their own inner light, and the sky was filled with so many stars that they formed rivers of light across the heavens. More unsettling still was the silence. In the physical world, the desert was never truly quiet. There were always insects buzzing, wind rustling through the vegetation, distant calls of night animals. Here, the silence was absolute, broken only by the sound of her own breathing. But as she stood there, trying to orient herself in this strange realm, she heard it. The faint sound of children's laughter carried on a wind that she could not feel. Following the sound, Itzel began to walk across the otherworldly landscape. With each step, the laughter grew clearer, and she could make out individual voices among the chorus of childish joy. Her heart leaped when she thought she recognized Nailnish's laugh among them. The journey led her to a vast meadow that existed impossibly in the middle of the desert, filled with grass that sparkled like jewels and flowers that sang soft melodies as the wind touched them. And there, in the center of the meadow, she saw them. Dozens of children, all appearing to be around Nailnish's age, were playing together in a scene of pure joy. They ran and laughed and played games that seemed to involve manipulating light itself, creating patterns and shapes that danced through the air like living rainbows. And there, among them, was her son. Nailnish looked exactly as he had before the sickness took hold, healthy, vibrant, his eyes bright with happiness. He was playing with a group of other children, his laughter ringing across the meadow like the sound of water over stones. Nailnish! Itzel called out, running toward him across the impossible grass. Her son looked up and saw her, and his face lit up with delight. Mother, you came to play with us. He ran to her and threw his arms around her, and Itzel felt tears of relief streaming down her face. He was here, he was whole, he was happy. My little one, she whispered, holding him tightly. I've come to take you home. But even as she spoke the words, she felt Nailnish tense in her arms. "Home?" he asked, pulling back to look at her with confusion. "But, Mother, this is home. Look how wonderful it is here. Look how much fun we're having." "This isn't your home, Nailnish," Itzel said gently. "Your home is with me, with your father, with our people, in the world of the living." "But in that world I was sick," Nailnish protested. "I was tired and weak, and everything hurt. Here, I feel strong and happy all the time. And look at all my new friends." He gestured to the other children, who had stopped their playing to watch the reunion. As Itzel looked at them more closely, she realized with a chill that they all had the same otherworldly quality as the landscape itself, beautiful, but somehow not quite real. "These are spirit children, my son," Itzel explained. "They are not truly alive as you are. They are shadows of children who have passed from the physical world. But they're so much fun to play with," Nailnish said wistfully. "And they never get tired, never get hurt, never have to stop playing to do chores or eat meals." It was then that Itzel became aware of another presence in the meadow. A figure was approaching from the far edge of the grass, tall, graceful, and radiating an authority that made the air itself seem to bow in respect. The figure was that of a woman, but like everything else in this realm, she was hauntingly beautiful in a way that no mortal could achieve. Her hair flowed like liquid starlight, her eyes held the depth of eternity itself, and her voice, when she spoke, carried the weight of countless ages. "So," the spirit woman said, "a living mother has entered our realm to reclaim her child." Itzel stepped protectively in front of Nailnish, though she knew that physical protection meant nothing in this place. "I am Itzel the Apache people," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I have come for my son." "I know who you are," the spirit woman replied with a smile that was both kind and terrifying. "I am she who watches over all the children who pass from your world to ours. And I must say, your arrival presents us with an interesting dilemma." "What dilemma?" Itzel asked, though she dreaded the answer. "Your son is very special," the spirit woman explained, gesturing toward Nailnish. "His joy, his innocence, his capacity for wonder, these qualities are rare even among children. We have been lonely for such pure happiness for many years. He belongs in the world of the living," Itzel said firmly. "Does he?" the spirit woman asked. "Look around you, Itzel the Apache. See how happy he is here. See how he plays without fear, without pain, without the sorrows that plague all who live in the physical world. Is it truly kindness to drag him back to a realm where he will face sickness, disappointment, and eventual death?" Itzel felt her certainty waver as she watched her son playing with the spirit children. He did indeed look happier than she had ever seen him, free from all the troubles that burdened those who lived in the physical world. "But if he stays here," Itzel said, "he will never grow up, never experience the full richness of life, never have children of his own. And he will never experience heartbreak, betrayal, loss, or the thousand small cruelties that living brings," the spirit woman countered. "He will remain forever young, forever joyful, forever innocent." The choice that Itzel faced was more agonizing than any physical pain she had ever endured. As a mother, she wanted what was best for her child. But what was best? A return to a world where he would face a sickness that was slowly killing him, or an eternity of carefree play in a realm where suffering did not exist. "I see your struggle," the spirit woman said gently. "And because your love for your child is so pure, I will offer you a choice that has never been offered to any living soul before." "What choice?" Itzel asked. "You may take your son back to the world of the living," the spirit woman said. "But if you do, you must also accept responsibility for all the other children who will face the calling of the spirit world. Each time a child becomes sick and begins to hear the voices of the spirit children, you must decide whether they should be allowed to cross over or be forced to remain in the physical world." Itzel felt the weight of the offer settle on her shoulders like a mountain. "You mean I would have to choose for all children, not just my own?" "Exactly," the spirit woman confirmed. "You would become the guardian of the threshold, the one who determines which children are called to our realm and which are permitted to remain in yours. It is a responsibility that would last for the rest of your natural life, and the decisions you make would affect countless families across all the tribes of humanity." The magnitude of the choice was staggering. Itzel looked at her son, playing happily with the spirit children, and then at the otherworldly woman who offered her power beyond imagination and responsibility beyond endurance. What happens if I refuse? Itzel asked. Then your son remains here, and the natural order continues as it always has, the spirit woman replied. Some children will be called to our realm when their time comes, and some will not. The choice will be made by forces greater than any mortal, as it has been since the beginning of time. And if I accept, then you bear the burden of deciding which children live and which children die. You will save some families from heartbreak, but you will also condemn some children to lives of suffering who might have found peace in our realm. And you will carry the weight of every choice you make until the day you yourself cross over to the spirit world. Itzel closed her eyes, her mind reeling with the implications of the decision she faced. To save her own child, she would have to accept responsibility for all children. To spare herself that burden, she would have to accept the loss of her son. But as she stood there in an impossible meadow, surrounded by the laughter of spirit children, and faced with a choice that would echo through eternity, Itzel remembered something her own grandmother had told her years ago. The greatest love, the old woman had said, is not the love that holds on, but the love that knows when to let go. With this memory burning in her heart, Itzel opened her eyes and looked at her son. He was laughing as he played with his new friends, his face radiant with a joy that she had never been able to give him in the physical world. Nailnish, she called softly. Her son looked up from his play, his expression expectant. Are you truly happy here? She asked. Oh, yes, mother, he replied without hesitation. Happier than I have ever been. Then I will not take that happiness away from you, Itzel said, her voice breaking with the effort of the words. She turned to the spirit woman, her decision made. I refuse your offer, she said firmly. I will not accept the power to choose for other children. That responsibility is too great for any mortal to bear. The spirit woman smiled, and for the first time, her expression held what looked like approval. You have chosen wisely, she said. The love that can let go when letting go is best is the purest love of all. But I have one request, Itzel continued, her voice growing stronger. If you must take my son, then take my love for him as well. Let my motherly love become part of the spirit world, so that all the children who cross over will know that they are loved and welcomed. The spirit woman's eyes widened with surprise and something that might have been wonder. Such a gift has never been offered before, she said. Your love, freely given, would indeed transform our realm. The children who come to us would not come as refugees from life, but as beloved souls welcome home. Then that is my gift, Itzel said. Take my love for Nailnish and let it bless all the children who must leave the physical world too soon. The spirit woman nodded solemnly. It shall be as you wish. Itzel knelt down and called her son to her one final time. When he came running, she hugged him with all the strength of her love, pouring every moment of joy they had shared, every hope she had held for his future, every tender feeling she had ever experienced as his mother into that final embrace. I love you, my little rainbow, she whispered. Be happy here, and know that whenever any child feels lonely or afraid, they will feel my love for you welcoming them home. As she spoke these words, Itzel felt her love for her son flowing out her heart and into the spirit world itself, becoming part of the very fabric of that realm. The impossible meadow grew brighter, the singing flowers harmonized more beautifully, and all the spirit children began to glow with a warm, motherly love that would comfort them for eternity. It is done, the spirit woman said softly. Your gift has transformed our realm forever. Now you must return to the world of the living before the sun rises, and traps your soul here as well. Itzel nodded, understanding that her task was complete. She had not saved her son's physical life, but she had given him something far more precious. The assurance that death was not an ending, but transformation into a realm blessed by unconditional love. The journey back to her body passed in a blur of sensation and emotion. When Itzel's consciousness slammed back into her physical form, she found herself lying in the sacred circle where Gozian had performed the ritual, with the medicine woman watching anxiously over her. Did you find him? Gozian asked immediately. Yes, Itzel whispered, tears streaming down her face. I found him and I let him go. As she spoke these words, they heard a soft sigh from across the shelter. Nailnish's breathing, which had been growing fainter throughout the night, stopped entirely. But his face, which had been pale and drawn with sickness, now showed an expression of perfect peace and contentment. Gozian checked for signs of life, then looked up at Itzel with eyes full of understanding. He has crossed over, the medicine woman said gently. But there is something different about this passing. Usually when a child dies, the family feels only loss and sorrow. But I sense something else here, a feeling of blessing of completion. Itzel nodded, understanding what the medicine woman sensed. Her gift to the spirit world had indeed transformed the nature of her son's death, turning it from a tragedy into a kind of sacred transition. In the days that followed, something extraordinary happened. Word of Itzel's vision quest spread throughout the Apache bands, and other families who had lost children began to report strange experiences. They spoke of dreams in which their departed children appeared to them, not as sorrowful ghosts, but as joyful spirits surrounded by a love so pure and strong that it transformed grief into a kind of grateful peace. The story of Itzel's journey to the spirit world became one of the most sacred tales of the Apache people, told not as a tragedy, but as an example of the highest form of love, the love that can sacrifice its own desires for the true good of the beloved. And though Itzel lived for many more years, raising other children and becoming a respected elder among her people, she never forgot the choice she had made in that impossible meadow. She became known as a source of comfort for families who had lost children, helping them understand that death was not an ending, but a transformation into a realm blessed by the love of all mothers who had ever had to let their children go. When Itzel herself finally crossed over to the spirit world at the end of her long life, she found herself once again in that beautiful meadow. But this time, she was not a visitor but a resident, welcomed by her son and by all the children whose crossing she had blessed with her gift of love. And there, in the realm where sorrow cannot exist and joy knows no ending, mother and son were reunited forever, their love having become part of the eternal fabric of the spirit world itself. This is the way of the mother spirit. This is the way of the Apache. And this is how one woman's love, freely given and wisely directed, transformed the very nature of death itself, ensuring that no child who crosses over to the spirit world would ever be alone or unloved again.